Well, yeah, that's what I was saying, Joe. Internal Bleeding is probably our best friends.
Yeah, I would think so. We did a lot of shows with them guys.
Yeah, that was cool. Chris wrote that little spoof and the guy.
I asked him to.
Gallery.
Are you recording? Ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, boys. Cheers to Mortal. So what's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about self-directed score grinding lunatics, Mortal Decay. Would you like to introduce yourselves and what you do in the band?
Johnny Polini, vocals.
Joe Gordon, guitar.
So now Mortal Decay's been around since '91, I'd say, officially. Dawn of Misery came out in '92. How has Mortal Decay impacted your life?
It's just, it's always been there, put it that way. I mean,
I don't remember when it wasn't there, really, you know? Because even before I joined, I went to the shows and stuff, and we became friends with them and all. And then here I am still playing with them now.
It's kind of
26 years in.
It's kind of like what I heard Rob Zombie say, I'm not a Rob Zombie guy, but I heard him say about the Ramones. It's the same thing with Mortal Decay. You grow up, you go to high school, Mortal Decay's still there. You go to college, graduate college, Mortal Decay's still there. You're now out working, Mortal Decay's still there.
Yeah, that's great.
So now, what do you guys feel is the most definitive Mortal Decay release? Like maybe not like the best sounding or best produced. You know, like the demos are raw. You know, Forensic has you know like its own little like production-wise type of thing. What do you guys feel is like if you're gonna get into Mortal Decay, what do you need to listen to?
Forensic.
Forensic.
Forensic has it all. Pretty much everything we've ever tried doing in the context of the music is on that record. I'm not saying it's the best thing out of everything. It's just one other thing, one more thing that tells the story, you know. So, but I mean, obviously, I started with the demos because that was the age I was.
Right.
And pretty much everything. Well, you can't really say what the definitive one is, you know, because they're all so different.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
You know, but I think we've pretty much done everything we wanted to do so far with the music, how it sounds and how it was written, and you know, things like that. So
right. So now speaking about Forensic, it's going to be almost 20 years next year. Well, after the holidays,
April 2.
It will be 2002. Are there any plans for a 30th anniversary for Forensic?
20th? Not really yet. I mean, I would like to think there will be something coming up. But, you know, there are some of those songs we've never played live, you know, so we'd have a lot of work to do to really do something for it, or even release-wise, you know, I would love to see it come out on vinyl, finally.
Right.
You know.
So the only song not played live was Beyond Forensic Knowledge?
Yes. And
Driven into the Syrups, I don't recall it.
yeah, we maybe twice.
We might have done that instrumental.
Yeah, maybe twice.
Yeah, I think at the 2000 show with Disgorge.
Oh, you know what? Yeah,
Yeah,
because we
with,
did
Kelly.
that. We did that in the Chronicles, I believe.
Right, with
Yeah,
Kelly at the time.
Yeah, we weren't even doing tragedies yet at that point.
No. Because originally, Driven was supposed to be on Sickening.
Well,
or it was recorded around that time.
yeah, it was
shortly
written.
after.
It was written after, definitely after we recorded Sickening. That was the first one. That was the first song. Written.
Right, because Chronicles and Driven had more of like the Sickening atmosphere to me than on Forensic.
They were number 1 and number 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what was the order of Forensic songs after that?
Let's see.
That's all him.
It was Driven, Chronicles, Tragedies, Insect, Beyond, Razor, and then Monkey and Brutalized.
Gotcha. So now, originally, though, Kelly was supposed to be on vocals.
Yeah, he recorded 2 songs.
He records My Mind and Razor.
No, Chronicles and Tragedies.
Chronicles and Tragedies, and then you guys were like, you know, like this just isn't good, or like what was the story about that?
We just wanted it to be better, and it was kind of like the situation with Justin too. We had because we demoed a lot of the blueprint stuff beforehand,
Right.
and it just was missing something, you know. The stuff that Kelly did on, you know, in the forensic sessions was just missing something. You know what I mean? We did the first Bloodletting North America tour with him, and everything was going good. But then when it came time for studio again, it just wasn't doing it for us.
Right.
You know?
But then after Kelly, you got in contact with the singer of Evolution at the time.
Well, no, he was in. He would have been on the album if he would have stuck with us, because he came in '99
Right.
before Kelly came back to do the tour.
Ah.
Yeah, we played a show with Morbid Angel with him in it, and then
Josh.
yeah, that guy was sick.
Was that at the Trocadero?
Yeah,
The Morbid. Yeah, thought so.
yeah, we did one. We did one in April and one in December.
What was that show as a spectator?
Yeah, it was cool. That was a good show.
So Johnny, what is your relationship with Kelly?
Always been cool with him. You know, I think he's a cool dude, you know, and I always enjoyed his vocals. Like, I really love the growl at the end of Columbia Necktie, because I don't think I could hold out my name like that. That's an awesome growl. That's probably my favorite song on the CD. But yeah, I just saw Kelly, last time I saw him was that, where I saw you at Mortician show.
The Mortician show, the 30th anniversary in Philly.
Malignancy played.
Yep.
Kelly actually got a song.
Yeah,
That was cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
So now speaking about like the old days, what were some of the bands that you guys like to listen to for like influences back in like the early to late 90s, or like bands you were friends with?
Some of the ones that it's rare where if we all can agree on a band, but some of like one's Macabre,
Yeah,
Death is another one I could think of. Who else do we all of us like?
all the Jersey bands we played with, we loved listening to their demos and stuff.
So like Torture Crypt,
Torture Crypt,
Honestly,
Human Remains,
Ossuary.
Ritual Torment.
yeah, Ossuary, Ritual Torment, Gaffed,
Yeah.
Ripping Corpse.
Yeah, Ripping Corpse.
I think he said Demonacy already.
Yeah, Demonacy. Well, Demonacy's a big one.
Yeah, Latshaw. Pretty much all the Jersey bands we grew up playing with, you know, that definitely infiltrated the style as well.
Right. And then of course Internal Bleeding.
Yeah.
Like Pyrexia stuff.
Pyros,
Like
Pyrexia, Sufo, IV, Afterbirth.
Yeah, Afterbirth.
that. Afterbirth, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so.
So now, this is a special one. Chris from Internal Bleeding wanted me to ask you, Johnny, how do you not have concussions from smacking yourself in the head, from choking yourself with a wire on stage? Because for anyone who's had the privilege of seeing Mortal Decay live, you get to witness Johnny just go ballistic and crazy on stage, smacking himself with water bottles, choking himself, jumping up and down, doing backflips on the floor.
He used to ruin microphones by.
Yeah,
Banging
because
himself in the head.
the sound footage for Live Half Dead is just
It's
you
just-
smacking yourself. It's not even like you
It's
can
the
hear
loudest
it.
thing in the whole
Yeah,
show.
it's the loud. Yeah,
I just freak out up there, man. You know, this is my rage.
Definitely
Pretty
adds
much.
to it. Definitely adds to the show characteristic.
oh yeah, for sure. That's one of the things that grabbed my attention. Not knowing what Mortal Decay was and seeing them open for Deicide, I was like, holy shit! Like, what is this guy doing? I was like, I need more of this, man.
I didn't even have much room to move around at that.
No,
point.
we were pretty.
Yeah.
We were pretty close to the front of the
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah, there wasn't that much room to move around.
No,
You know.
it was a fun show though. Until I hurt my knee.
Until I got kicked in
Right.
the head by Johnny. Because I always
I had
go
no
front
idea.
row.
I had
And,
no idea until I saw that. I saw that post you posted.
Yeah, Johnny stage dives and just kicks me right in the head. And then he does it again at Maryland Death Fest the next year before Broken Hope, kicks me right in the head.
That was a nice stage. That was
Yeah.
a nice big stage.
Yeah, soundstage is great.
Yeah, for sure.
That was like the third time we played on that stage.
you smack the water on your head and you spill it everywhere. And you're like, shit.
Oh,
And you're like looking for
slipping, yeah.
you were like looking for
a towel.
You're looking for a towel.
I think I found one too. Yeah, I had mine in my bag. I remember that because I should wait till the end of the show to do stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Man, now I don't have enough water to drink.
Well, afraid of slipping and hurting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel as crazy as I was when I was younger. I don't know, just because getting older and stuff. I guess, you know. And you do have a watch nowadays too about the whole stage diving thing ever since that whole incident with Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, where the person got trampled to death.
Right. Yeah.
Which is also a macabre song. So it all comes full circle.
Right. Yeah. So if I chilled out up there, it's because I just getting older.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for the next one because we haven't played live in like 3 years.
Right.
So I imagine all our necks are gonna be sore.
And plus, I like to focus more on sounding better I mean, the stage presence has got to be there, but
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I'd rather you sound good too.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of it too, I mean, not to sound like a cheesy rock star or anything, a lot of it is like my therapy up there, you know?
Yeah,
It's,
it's to express yourself.
Yeah, like I think of all the shit that like fucked you up in life before you go on and boom, you freak out. And like the past 4 years, life's been really good. I haven't had any problems. Which is good.
So Mortal Decay's been kind of happy. Less evil and less, macabre. And
Yeah.
It's definitely harder to write music when you're in a good place in life.
yeah, right. But I mean, it's some pretty angry stuff. I mean, some pretty, I will say out of all the brutal bands of the time, so I guess we could say like the late 90s, United Guttural era bands like Morbidity, Waco Jesus, Malignancy.
I mean, all those bands are.
Say-
Well, Malignancy definitely has some really pissed off stuff too.
Right.
But you mentioned like Waco and Morbidity. They just seemed like they wanted to just have fun. And
Yeah.
weird stuff.
Well, I'm getting at like the imagery.
Yeah.
So like like you had like the rancid energy of that, and you had bands like Regurgitation and all
Oh, yeah,
that.
that
like, the late
stuff's
scene.
really pissed
But
off too.
What I'm getting at is pissed off wise. Not saying them, but I'm saying you guys. Out of all those bands, really took the lyrical and imagery of like the true crime stuff to an extreme.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
And where I'm getting at, I wasn't gonna say those bands are like angry like that, but you guys, out of like the bands that you guys would get, I guess, recommended musically wise in the same category of that time, you guys took it to way extremes.
Yeah, they were more fictionalized as far as that stuff.
With the lyrics and the imagery, it was always real imagery, real true crime. And I wish we had Anthony here to really talk about it, but could you enlighten about like where the idea for that stuff comes from? Like, did you just want to be the most, deranged, the most serious, like?
Well, the derangement is definitely there in all facets of it.
Right.
But he could probably speak more along the having to learn stuff and be like, oh man, this shit is like next level.
Like, this is the real deal.
Talk about where it comes from. That's Hippery's talent and his sick, twisted mind.
Yeah.
Totally.
For sure.
To think of that stuff.
He's in my mind, he's still the best lyricist.
Oh no, for sure.
Yeah, like Hartman rags on me about trying to write lyrics, and I can't write lyrics. I can't compete with that. I can't write. I could write hardcore music lyrics, but I can't write death metal lyrics, especially when you're trying to match stuff like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even like death metal lyrics. It's like a different world. It's like crazy. Like it's chilling.
Yeah, it's definitely more psychological.
Oh, for sure.
And
if you're like a diehard fan of Mortal Decay, you'll notice that all the lyrics kind of like entice into each other. Meaning like song titles are used in other songs.
Yeah.
Other lyrical parts like Delirium's mentioned a lot. Like the use of like Rotting Carcass is used a lot in multiple songs. Like Grisly Aftermaths in different songs. Like it all kind of like tells a never-ending story of just this true crime, you know,
Definitely.
chapters.
And that's on purpose as well.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
it doesn't just happen that way. It's like very thought out that way.
Yeah, so everything kind of blends in together lyrically for each album.
Like we're not a conceptual band per se, but those things kind of I like that aspect of it.
And the lyrics gotta be brutal. They gotta match the music. You know?
That's when it started to get more real.
The later 90s.
Yeah, when we started using the real photographs and stuff. And even with Forensic, we used real photographs, but we collaged it a little bit.
Right, and I mean, it's not like, you know, like naked girls or like decapitated people. It's, you know, just like,
you know,
like autopsies and stuff.
Right, and like massive injuries and things like that.
Yeah. So now, the sickening erotic cover of the bonded girl being chained up in the basement, was it always supposed to be that picture, or was something else envisioned originally?
I don't know. I don't know what was going on in Ant's mind at that point because none of us were there.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I do know he took 2 rolls of film for that.
And that's why
we were able to look at them and decide as well what picture we liked.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because that's why there's 2 versions.
That's
there's
why
the
there's
orange
2 versions,
covering the
yeah.
yellow. It always made me laugh because the orange one had like a roll of duct tape or something like HVAC tape in like the bottom corner.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like in the
And then she was like kind of like more, you know,
Yeah,
like the second one she was like more like drained, more tired.
Right.
Which I thought was cooler, you know.
Yeah.
For a reissue, then, you know, it just sort of happened that way.
For sure.
The whole layout of the whole
Right.
changed and all that.
I think I heard from one source saying that there was supposed to be like 4 strippers on the cover, and then like Anthony's girlfriend was like, "No, like
that's the
4
story I always
prostitutes."
heard. That, you know, was like, you know,
Yeah.
wait, you know,
I'll
she heard what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and she was like, "No,
She's
like,
like, no,
I'll take
do
it."
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember exactly what we were going to try. But it probably would have been along the lines of how the Brutalizing Creations cover came out.
Right.
You know, something like that.
Right. So now, by that time, for Sickening Erotic, the songs were getting a little bit more technical in the aspect. So like less like of a beatdown style.
Yeah, more parts, more definitely more stuff to sing over.
Right. I felt it was like a lot more like guitar solo-y, like more traditional death metal songs. Like almost, I mean, still brutal death metal, but more leaning towards like technical death metal in that sense. Where was the process of that?
I think we went as far as we could with that stuff, with meditating.
Right.
And then for Columbia Necktie and Decompose, we kind of ratcheted that technical stuff back a little bit.
Right.
Concentrated more on the riffing.
Because there was only 4 new songs on that.
Yeah.
Why only 4 new songs?
Well, I think it was more so in the way that the label wanted to get the album out kind of right away.
So you're just kind of like pushed for time.
We had already written like say at that point it would have been a half a record at that point, you know, that we had.
Right.
And then we stretched it out with old stuff, you know, obviously. But
why was there no Dawn of Misery content on that?
I think it was because we weren't really playing a whole lot of that stuff at that time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just kind of the songs we liked from Grizzly and the songs we liked from Brutalizing were basically the ones that ended up there.
Now, one of the common concerns of Mortal Decay fans, of like really diehard Mortal Decay fans, is the demo songs being redone by Kelly. Not only Kelly's vocals, but sort of like the slower down in pitches, like drastically different parts. What was the whole idea of just kind of like changing up like the pace of stuff?
Well, the tuning changed, for one. So the Grizzly stuff is tuned higher than what ended up being on the Sickening album.
Right.
So that's an immediate change as it is, and it changes the tone of your guitar and how it's how it's going to transfer to the tape as well. So that could be how the change in pitches and all that.
Right, because the Gathering of Human Artifacts compilation is a compilation.
Yeah.
I always felt like in a way Sickening Erotic was kind of like a compilation, because it's the same thing. It's like the Brutalizing Creation songs, and then it's like 2 of the Grizzly Aftermath songs like, after.
And then 4 new ones.
And it's kind of
add-
like different eras of stuff, because the Grizzly demo songs have that like breakdown, like dance midsection, and none of the other songs have that.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I guess, weird to like diehard fans that album, because it's just like all over the place.
If
like,
we would have
different
changed,
eras.
I think if we would have came up with a different track listing, it probably wouldn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's at the time that's kind of the way we liked it.
Yeah.
After we listened to it from start to finish.
But you can definitely go back and see like
Yeah,
just feels like different eras like chopped into
there was
one
a,
album.
Well, there was a certain sureness out of the older songs because we had been playing them a lot, and up to that point of recording Sickening, the newer songs we hadn't really played out a whole lot. There was a little bit of unsureness to them as well. I think because the demo songs were definitely tighter than those 4 songs, I believe.
Yeah.
But
I like Decomposed.
Yeah.
Decomposed is always one of my favorite.
yeah, I love that song too.
I always say I wish that you were on that, because playing Decomposed live, you give it more of like a hardcore vibe, giving off like the chopcore shouts and like the opening parts. Was there any like idea to like you wanted to bring like that chopcore, like hardcore feel live playing those songs?
No, it really was, because back then I was doing both hands, and honestly, I was pretty much trying to sing like my Opening the Graves voice, but I guess at the same note, I was doing a lot of chopper stuff, so it came out a mixture between the two.
Yeah.
I didn't really try to come off sound like a hardcore singer, but people have, I mean, mentioned that in reviews, even on a forensic, that I got like hardcore screams, and I'm like,
Right.
I don't think.
It's kind of like its own thing, like you mentioned, Opening the Graves, just kind of like
the
yelling.
Yeah, well, they would never, Mortal Decay, and I would agree, they would never want to have that child force scream.
Right.
So.
I mean more of like the Opening the Graves, or like the Monkey Cage, just like the.
But think of this too, like
yells.
even back then, when people first heard Opening the Graves, it was different hearing him sound like that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not like a thing to do like those cleaner, just like yells in brutal death metal.
Yeah.
Or if
He never really sang full verses of that.
If it's in death metal, it's usually like the crybaby, like metalcore, like dirty singing, like clean singing. It's just like straight up just singing the songs in a shouty, normal way, like not really the guttural death metal style. What made you, or like gave you inspiration to do that in brutal death metal? Because at the time, no one was really doing it.
Well, just from going back years ago when we were Macabre, and I sounded, like I mentioned to you earlier, like a barking dog on that album. I just was experimenting with my voice, and just driving around the car. I remember like some of my heart would be like, "Hey, you gotta sing like that," and I just started doing it. I really wasn't really into much guttural vocals back then that I could think of, except maybe like maybe Chris Barnes on Butcher the Broke, maybe, you know what I mean?
That was probably the lowest he ever was.
Right.
So how would you describe?
No, there were 2 local guys that I liked. He's still around, but he doesn't sound. He doesn't sing that way anymore. Is that dude Gary from Lesh9? Did you ever hear the Lesh9?
No.
YouTube the Lesh9 demo. That should be something on your list.
Lesh9 demo.
Yeah, that's his vocals. That was very popular. Like back before Joe was in the band, and these days with us, we love that. And yeah, he gets so deep. And then there was also Kaz from Crucifier. He played drums along with getting so deep too.
And Mark from Into Kennedy.
Yeah, into Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't really.
He was
guttural.
Oh, yeah. He was like doing the kind of like not your style, but like you guys both had like similar styles for people like around the area.
Yeah,
but they started getting more black metal-y,
Right. Yeah.
And he stopped doing more of the real heartbeat stuff.
So now let's talk about styles. So you have been, how would you describe your vocal style?
how would I describe my vocal
Yeah,
style?
some people call it, you know, like a froggy type,
Yeah.
like demo
That's been
stuff.
like the new thing, the froggy term.
Yeah. How would you always describe it, like back in the day?
Just deep gutturals.
Deep gutturals,
I used to like to try to get as deep as possible.
and there's not like a technique for you; it just kind of comes out that way.
Yeah, it's just I just do it. There's nothing really to like.
Yeah, there's not like
there's nothing really to.
There's no technical.
there's no like
thing
tongue
to it.
placement or like.
No.
God damn, Johnny.
Just
no
like,
inhales.
Yeah, no inhales.
I mean, I do think about like what the next recording is going to be like because, I mean, I'm an IT guy. I got to stay up with the times and be technical and stuff. But when it comes to recording, I mean, Joe's heard me say this before. I like the analog days. I felt I sounded a lot better in the analog days.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the digital days.
Like the Grizzly Aftermath demo. Yeah, it sounds really clean and crisp.
Right. There's a lot of times I'm not happy on forensic at times. You know, just me because I felt the fact because that was when, if I'm not mistaken, that was our producer when we first started going digital too.
Yeah, see, when we recorded Sickening, he was still using tape.
Right.
Right. It was reel to reel.
Yeah, and when we did Forensic, he was full digital then. You know.
So it was just kind of like new technology.
At the time, yeah, probably newer. I know he had some of the digital stuff when we recorded Sickening, because he was able to bounce all the stuff down from tape to it.
Right.
And then from, like I said, from then he just. I think Sickening was one of the last tape things he did.
Another thing people laugh about, but it's not joking, it's serious. Like when I record, and to get deeper and sludgier, chocolate milk and Doritos now.
Chocolate milk and Doritos?
It gives you that. It gives you some good saliva. It just.
I'll have to try it. It's all that phlegm in like the
Right.
back.
Yeah,
It gives you that.
definitely. It gives you enough of that post nasal drip that you need for
That
Yeah.
post,
for
that
some
post,
sick
that post-mortem nasal drip.
There have been times now, now being a dad, sometimes things it's like,
Yeah.
You know, some of the, it's like, she was only 9 years of age, I kept her teeth to remind me of her smile, and I got a 9-year-old, you know what I mean? It's
I always like the Jordan, I like Driven's lyrics too, but I always like brutalizing the file that last part where it's like mother of three praying for me not to kill her, but I wouldn't hear her. Like stuff like that.
But you
Like,
gotta
just,
remember,
you know,
it's all fiction.
yeah, for sure.
And I just like, I grew up watching horror movies, man, you know?
And it's just like-
there's nothing wrong with a scary movie, there's nothing wrong with
It's just
a
a
scary
music
horror
form. It's like a music form of like Friday the 13th or like you know whatever.
Exactly,
Instead
yeah.
of film, it's just the music.
Right, yeah. But yeah, you gotta definitely keep it sick and twisted,
Yeah.
you know.
When it gives you that feeling, you know what I mean? Like, holy shit, did he just say that? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
that's what I like about it.
And I feel like Mortal Decay is one of those bands where people actually like pay attention to the lyrics and art, which is very hard for brutal death metal bands in general to even care about lyrics.
Well, I think a lot of it too is he's able to pronounce.
I was just gonna
pronounce
say-
yeah, exactly. With what we're
His
talking about.
enunciation is probably one of the best in the game. So.
I was just gonna say that I try to make myself be understood.
Yeah, it's not just mindless gurgling.
Yeah,
you know.
because then like we were talking about like opening the graves, we can really hear like the acts he's about to do.
Mhm.
You know, like all the female body parts, human hair for souvenirs.
Like
you,
yeah,
you
like
can really
opening the
hear.
graves of local women.
Yeah, like you can
actually
really
know what
hear.
he's gonna do.
Yeah. It's not like, like regurgitation, like it sounds sick and lyrics are, disturbing, but it's, it's just like that pure guttural where like if you don't know like the lyrics, you're not going to really understand it the
Right.
first time you listen to it, Someone can pop in a Mortal Decay CD for the first time and then hear, like the opening for My Mind Bleeds Tragedies and just be like, holy shit. And then of course, like the burpy frog vocals come in, it's like real dark atmospheric
But you can
feeling.
still
It's like,
understand
yeah,
what
you
it
can
says.
still understand. That's like it gives you like chills, kind of like being able to do that.
Yeah.
Do you take a lot of pride in like being like the creative force behind that and like creating art that you can actually like understand to that level?
I like to try to, sure. That's another thing. Back to in inventing that voice, I did invent it in Baron's studio. You know, and
The frog
yeah,
or the
all of them. That, you know, and now.
Well, what's cool is Effigy can do that too. You know what I mean? He can
Right.
do that real.
But what I'm saying is now we're gonna, for the first time, in Mortal Decay, it's gonna be in a different studio. I just hope wherever I'm at, we can match it.
Yeah.
right.
I just hope we can find a cool one around here that's, you know, not too expensive. Because I feel like we're going to be, you know, pretty much doing it all out of pocket this time. So, I mean, if we had an album to do, I'm sure Steve would do it.
Right.
But anything other than an album, I'm sure, you know, like anything like say a 7-inch release or something like that will have to be out of pocket.
Right.
So
That's what I was saying earlier.
So yeah, speaking about 7 inches, what's going on with Mortal Decay in 2020? You know, what can we expect for 2021 for the new year for Mortal Decay? Any new music? Any new writing?
They've been writing. I've been wanting to record since I rejoined in 2017. I can't wait to record something again.
I'm always coming up with stuff. I know John always does too. Like,
Yeah.
But we haven't really jammed a whole lot together recently,
Right.
which is which is how we. Well, if you go back in time, I know somebody was asking this in your thread too, about how we come up with the songs and things like that. We used to do a lot of things on the spot, and we would really hammer parts together. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to do that now, only because there is a certain amount of things that you can do at home now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it takes away from the kind of spontaneity of being in the jam room.
Right.
But I mean, I know I've talked to Ant about getting back into the jam room feel. You know, with some of this new stuff we want to try to do.
Yeah, and it's not, a lot of it too is, you know, as we grow older, or, you know, we have a lot of things in our personal lives, and it's hard to get together sometimes, you know.
Yeah, we only have a certain window during the day to get together.
Right. And you know how it is. We just everyone's, as we get older, we get more busier.
Yeah.
You know, with our personal lives and work and everything.
There's no more jamming 4 or 5 days a week anymore.
Right, and it's like, there have been times like those guys went to jam on Saturday or something. I got daddy duty now, you know.
Yeah.
I got a kid now. I wasn't back before. But at least those guys can write. You know, like there's no shows right now with all the crap going
Yeah,
on
for sure.
and stuff. I mean, I'd like to pop in and do the set when I can still.
The most important question of all that we need to ask: what comes first, the cereal or the milk? What do you pour first?
Cereal.
You pour the cereal first.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you do with the milk though?
I pour it in one little corner of the bowl so that it sweeps underneath the cereal and rises up under it. So the top of the cereal doesn't get all soggy because you poured milk all over it. So just pour a little bit in the side of the bowl, let it rise up underneath the pile of cereal, and then your cereal will still be crunchy when you go to eat it.
Yeah.
I do it all over the top because sometimes you just get those dry pieces.
You want to sink it all, don't you? You're like shoving it all.
I want it
down.
to be, you know, gently wet. I don't want it to be, you know, soaked and mushy, but you know, I grew up on cereal. You know?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, all kinds of different cereals.
I don't hate it. I was just kind of a big cereal guy.
What was your go-to breakfast?
My go-to breakfast?
Yeah. Eggs, pancakes.
Yeah, all that bacon, eggs, McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts.
What was what?
Know whose breakfast I love, man? It's underrated. It's not that popular yet. It's Taco Bell's.
Taco Bell
breakfast?
breakfast?
I haven't on there yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything
Good
of that.
stuff.
Like all the breakfast burritos and stuff.
They got breakfast crunch wraps. They're awesome.
I feel like Taco Bell's been going downhill. like just no meat in their tacos. I'm
Not
like,
anymore.
They jacked up all
yeah,
their
I know.
prices. They
There's
jacked,
like, there's like no meat in the taco. I'm like,
they jacked up all their
it's
prices.
like a lettuce sandwich. I'm like, the fuck?
They raised all their prices.
Well,
and
even the meat stuff.
they took things off the menu, like there's no Meximel anymore, there's no empanadas anymore.
Yeah, why would you get rid of the Mexican?
I don't know.
Mortal Decay wants to know.
Yeah.
Why?
Hey, corporate guys at Taco Bell,
Mhm.
why the fuck did you take off the Mexican from the menu?
So what are the go-to food spots when Mortal Decay is on tour? What do you guys like to eat? What are the hot spots?
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Cracker Barrel.
Waffle House.
Yeah.
I only toured twice with them, so I was only fortunate to be able to do that. See, that was always my problem.
We always seemed to hit like a Bob Evans for breakfast whenever we headed into some certain towns. It seemed like heading out to Ohio at Death Fest, we would always hit a Bob Evans before we got into town.
Right. I know some. It depends on what band you talk to. You know, some bands were eating Outback every day. Other bands were saving up coupons at Burger King and buying two for one burgers and then eating one and then saving one for tomorrow.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to do it that way.
So you guys were always you guys weren't that low. You could go to Bob Evans on the road.
Yeah.
So to say.
Yeah, but there was one road trip we took in 2008 when Monty first joined. We brought coolers and bought food at grocery stores.
Just save money.
Yeah.
And then for those who don't know, Monty, of course, is in Malignancy now.
Well, he's not actually anymore.
Well, was.
Yeah.
For a short while.
Yeah. Also, original member of Poltergeist.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't really tour much with Mortal, but I did plenty of road trips, like weekend road trips and stuff like that. Like I've been through Canada and everything, and even back in the day, and when we Dawn of Misery days when we would go up with Ritual Torment and play up there. Sometimes we would rent a hotel just to go up North Jersey, and with Eternal Bleeding and stuff like that. But yeah, we always do the usual fast food places from what I remember.
Yeah, we would always do those too.
So now
For something quick, just get it and get it back on the road.
Right. So now for going back to Dawn of Misery, since you just mentioned it, what was kind of like the major influences early on for Dawn of Misery? Because the brutal death metal scene wasn't really established at that time. Realistically in '92 you only had Suffocation and Internal Bleeding, to my knowledge.
Pyrexia was out.
Well, yeah, with
The
the
first
liturgy,
album wasn't
and it was same with the Internal Bleeding demos,
Yeah.
and then like stuff like that. What was kind of like the main influence on the music, if you can remember back to that point, Johnny? Because like I said, there wasn't really brutal bands out. Was there like
Dawn of Misery days?
yeah, was there like a Carcass
I
influence?
was just gonna say, the one I remember we all liked was Carcass.
Right. What
Napalm.
So like more of like the death metal Napalm, like Harmony Corruption, or just like Napalm in general, like the early grindcore stuff, or
Both.
both
Yeah,
was
but
there influence? Was there always a grind influence on Mortal Decay you felt?
yeah, there was.
Now
Yeah, absolutely.
saying grind as in course like extreme in an extreme sense, because you hear the term death grind get tossed around a lot, and I feel like it's more for like to describe like when a band uses like extreme stuff in the band, or like like real weird stuff like Cephalic Carnage or like Blood Duster, or I hear stuff like Levidity's Death Grind and Balmer's Death Grind, when really it's just this extreme death metal style.
No Else was a big one, and we were fortunate to open for them at Jubilee, because it was one of the first biggest shows. Was Bolt Thrower.
Bolt Thrower, yeah.
That was I got that. That's on my YouTube.
Yeah. So kind of like that early Earache Records bands was an influence. So like the Entombs, the Carcasses, the Napalm Deaths, the Bolt Throwers,
Pungent Stench.
the Pungent Stench, Brutal Truth.
Yeah, we were. That was a little later, I think. Brutal Truth.
Yeah.
Brutal Truth will be more like brutalizing creation times, I would think.
So past like their death metal days.
Yeah, I remember.
Because the first Brutal Truth album, Extreme Conditions, is what I consider like true death grind, where it's like the actual combination of grindcore and death metal, like Napalm Death's Utopia Banished, or like Reinfection, Malicious Hate, like that's like true death grind, like that perfect combination.
But see, people back in the day called, before it was brutal, people called suffocation death grind back then.
Yeah, like people called, like internal bleeding death grind, like it was just kind of like what you called. So how would you describe what your and all the other bands around at the time were labeled? Because now we call it old school brutal death metal. Some people refer to it as like the late 90s, like guttural death metal. What were you guys calling your stuff, or like the music around the time stuff? Like Malignancy, Lividity, all that?
Death metal. Honestly,
Just death metal?
I sound like an old salt saying this. But it's all just death metal, man.
Right.
All these subgenres and stuff. And sometimes it doesn't sit well with me.
But you have to understand why it's that way, because like if you describe like like there's key characteristics between like cyanide and amorphous to like Mortal Decay and Lividity, and if you just call it death metal, you're gonna be like
it's not like in the same category.
Yeah,
which is what people like to do as far as that is definitely categorization. People want to separate things too much,
Right.
But
right.
I'm just saying, if you want bands like like Malignancy, or like Flesh Grind, like what like what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if you want like that key sound, like what would you just called it death metal back then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because like BDM wasn't a thing yet. You know what I mean? That you could like not lump all these bands into the BDM umbrella. But there was definitely a stylistic change, especially after Pierce came out.
Yeah, Pierce was definitely a game changer.
I think that's when the whole BDM thing started. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
wow,
definitely.
This shit's brutal. Well, it's brutal.
And then of course, Cryptopsy the following year
you
came out with Dumb So Vile.
The Scourge stuff started to come out.
Yeah, like
Then
the
that
late.
was
That's like the early 2000s. Like that's when it really, like late like 99. Up to like 2002, really.
I think the bands that best fit that label back then were Gorgasm and The Scourge. Back in like the mid to late 90s with their
Mid to late
demos and
90s,
stuff.
and then
That was definitely brutal death metal at the time.
And then of course, in Texas, there was Viral Load, Prophecy, Devourment, and then Illinois had like the Broken Hopes, the Flesh Grinds, the Dead, and the
Flesh Grind was
Lividities.
definitely considered.
And then California had its own scene with Sepsism, the Discord Deeds, and then of course New York.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like those four big areas kind of cemented like the new sound of death metal.
And you know what? And as influential as Florida has been and the whole death metal thing as a whole, there hasn't been too many like quote unquote BDM bands that came from there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? As a hotbed of death metal that area is, there's not a whole lot of like super brutal bands.
It was a starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a starting point for to get death metal away from the thrash, like really cement the death metal sound. Yeah. And then of course
but they never kicked it over the edge.
Yeah, it stayed to the depths. The Morbid Angels. There was Resurrection.
But they
Resurrection kind of.
They weren't like brutal though.
Yeah.
There was Possessed too. They were borderline.
Yeah, I mean they definitely were one of the starters of it for sure.
What do you guys consider the first death metal? Like Possessed or Seven Churches, Necrophagia?
Seven Churches.
Seven Churches.
Chuck always said that
Bloody Gore.
Chuck always said that he modeled his voice after that. So
after Seven Churches, I always thought that they're definitely death metal, but I felt like they were more like the death thrash, like the proto death metal. But I think that Leprosy was like the first true like no thrash like death metal sound, like slow.
Yeah.
Like that's what like death metal is.
Scream Bloody Gore was thrashy.
Yeah. But it still had there's like a little bit of thrashy.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit. That's why I say like Leprosy kind of like really.
The old combat sound.
They changed combat sound. You mentioned you're a big Rush fan.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then for those who don't know, the opening for the song "My Mind Bleeds Tragedies," that opening, that's a Rush song.
It's taken directly from Vital Signs.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Vital Signs is the opening for "My Mind Bleeds Tragedies."
Yep. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you've ever
I
known.
don't know. I don't think I heard that.
We'll have to play
Yeah, if it
I'll
was
play
like,
it for you.
yeah, it's like, I was like,
I do like the idea of split 7 inches. I always like.
Yeah, I want to do more. I want to do more.
We
of it.
should just do that from now on, Joe. Just make splits.
it'd be like a Gothicals.
Oh yeah,
It's
they
like-
do.
they
They
have
have
like-
like 50 releases.
They have more than that, dude. They have like 200
Holy
splits.
shit,
dude.
that's crazy.
Like the
Are they still doing new stuff now?
who?
Gothic Leaves?
Is that what Gothicals? I never knew how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I'm not that big of a fan of the band. I just know that's like it's like a joke. It's like who has more? A Gothically splits or Incantation members? Which one has more?
Dude, they have a lot of records too, man. But they have a lot of great stuff.
Let's get really intricate into sort of like trivia, like stuff people wouldn't know. Try to make like different than other interviewers. Like they talked about like the Macabre Days. Like Forensic being a dark album. Let's go like dive deeper into like the writing process of Forensic. So Beyond Forensic Knowledge is like a long 8-minute song. Originally, it was supposed to be 3 sections with recollections in it.
That's the way I wanted to do it.
That was your original vision.
Everybody didn't agree with me on that.
Because Recollections kind of feels like an oddball out on that album.
Yeah.
Kind of like some like weird like thrash metal sounding openings kind of just like in there for like a placement. That was originally supposed to be somewhere in the middle of
Yes.
Beyond Forensic.
The way that I wrote the parts for that was it all either began or ended on a certain note in a scale, and then the Recollections thing would have been the next note on the scale, and then the second half of Beyond Forensic Knowledge would have been the next note on the scale. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it would have been a progression in that way.
Because when you go back and listen to the song, you can kind of see where it could lead off into like a different part.
Yeah.
It kind of has like that one like ending note before it like
And it could totally break down into the acoustic.
yeah, it could go into a different section.
Yeah.
But then none of the band members wanted to do that vision.
Well, we had been practicing that song in its entirety, and I had mentioned when we were going to record it that I wanted to try to do it that way. And well, we've been playing it this way. Why don't we just do it this way? And well, then that's how it ended up on the album that way. But
So, what would be your guys' favorite song on Forensic?
Mine's Beyond Forensic Knowledge.
probably,
I like them all. If I had to pick one, it would
yeah,
be Beyond
I mean,
Forensic.
Yeah, they're all great.
I still listen to it now, and I'm like dumbfounded at how we come up with some of that stuff. But
Because I mean, well, I've said it on past interviews before, not to sound, not to try to sound big-headed or conceited or anything. That's because you got to remember, I wasn't in the band when I was asked to do Forensic, but that turned out to be one of my favorite death metal albums.
Because you were just asked to
They just gave me the
come. You were just asked to do the album.
I was too busy with my chopboard band at the time, and
Right.
they just asked me to come do the vocals in the studio.
So you were just gonna record the album, and then go do your chopcore.
Right.
Record on Bloody Little Mess at the time.
That actually came out 2 months after Forensic. But yeah, we went to Barron's, and he had 2 chairs set up. Avery sat here, and I sat next to him. And Avery would do, all right, sing this part. He would do a ghost track over it, and then I would sing it. And
it
we
was
did
after the flood too, because he had all the
Right,
equipment moved up
yeah.
in the kitchen.
But we did that whole album. That's why, like, the average fan probably can't hear, but I know I can tell in my mind how sometimes it can be choppy throughout the album.
Well, even you kind of like disguise yourself because you'll do like the burp and then you'll do like a whisper, so it's kind of like disguising like the choppiness.
Yeah, I gave input on that with him. I remember saying, hey, should I do a high meter out here, or should I do the whisper, should I do the laugh, and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was open to all of that.
Yeah. Right. But that was very interesting, and I never would have imagined then I rejoined, and I'm like, oh shit, now I gotta really go learn,
Yeah.
learn these songs.
I didn't really learn this stuff beforehand, you know.
And when
Now
a,
I
drum,
got to.
when a drummer does vocal arrangements, especially a technical drummer like Ant, it's hard, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, you know, I that's what I mean. I'll, even though they're writing, I want to get down and do the set when they practice, because I need to get my practice time.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a fine line between singing along to the album in your car and just singing along.
Actually
to
doing
practice.
it live with other musicians there.
Right, and it's, yeah. Because if you miss a beat, you're off on the forensic stuff.
Yeah, because that's really fast music. Especially hearing live, it's hard to hear, like, you know, keys to do something.
Yeah,
Yeah, cues.
Because, you know, Ant does do our vocal arrangements, and of course I work with him. And when I first rejoined him back in 2017, I'm like, try to take it easy on me this time around, you know? He's just like, yeah, I'll, you know, because it's in every forensic song, like I know the bulk of the album now. There's like maybe 3 tunes that I don't know what I have to really learn.
And what would those be?
Beyond Forensic Knowledge, Driven into Hysterics, and Brutalizing the File. You know, I did do Brutalizing the File live before.
Yeah,
But
I don't think you actually like sang it correctly when you played in 04.
Oh yeah.
I don't. It's hard to tell, but I think like the last like minute is kind of like.
Right. Well, in every song.
That's a long song too.
Yeah,
well,
but I think in the last one, I don't think you actually like sang like the Mother of Three. I think you just kind of like.
Oh yeah.
Rail.
Well, right, because I was probably off. Because what I was getting at, there's in every song. There's a time that I had trouble with one part at least in every song with timing wise. You know.
We're working on it though.
You guys have
I've been
problems?
working on it for what, 20 years, and it's like it's that hard, you know.
Do you guys have problems playing Rejoice and Consume live because they have the same midsection?
No, Consume
They have,
never.
like that breakdown midsection. You know which one I'm talking about?
Consume never left the set. So.
Right, because I know that those 2 songs in particular have the same like breakdown midsection, like the dance part.
Yeah.
Do you ever like mistake one for the other?
No. I would say. For me, it's weird playing some of the Dawn stuff because a lot of that stuff is like the same.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similar riffs in a bunch of the songs.
You guys only play Splendid Decomposition and sometimes Postmortem Feast.
Postmortem Feast we
Back in
played
the
a
day.
lot back in the day. Like we used to play that song.
We
a
still
lot.
play Post.
Yeah.
But we just started messing around with Splendid again. And it's funny because they're the two songs that are similar.
Yeah, I always like the song Mortal Decay. I felt like that was very like groove oriented, like almost like internal bleeding.
Yeah, it's funny because we'll probably never do that. And that's our title song.
Yeah, was that the first song written for?
I can tell you right now, that song would be too. Yeah, it was, and that song would be too boring for these guys to play that.
That was the first song written for the demo.
That was the first song after
Macabre.
Yeah.
But that's like more of like that like hardcore like beatdown style, like really groove like moshy type of
Yeah, I like it.
like almost like internal bleeding kind of like style of Mortal Decay. Yeah.
But I couldn't see these guys playing that nowadays anyway. It's too
Right.
It's too
Or like
boring for
how do you say how do you say the first track? Ars Moriendi? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Was that ever we thought about being brought back?
We screwed around with that at practices. And
That's got a bass break opening.
It does.
So it's kind of like.
And it does it with the tom when it was drum.
Yeah.
We mess around with it. I doubt we would.
That's a fun. I mean, they're all fun songs to play.
Like
Now you guys are
songs.
going to be like crazy when you hear this, but I think Sermon's better than Effigy.
Oh, for sure. Sermon of Mockery?
I can see that.
Oh, I like Sermon of Mockery 100% better than Effigy. I don't think that's crazy at all, dude. I love Sermon of Mockery.
Yeah, me too.
Sermon
I think
Sermon of Mockery is
It's
the
just
most
darker.
catchy.
It's darker.
It is the most catchy album beside, like, the most catchiest, like, slam album in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think it's even more.
I think it's catchier than Internal Bleeding.
I wouldn't even call it a slam album.
Yeah, or like the proto slam, like that style, like that New York style.
Yeah.
I think it's the most catchiest, the most darkest.
It's not thrashy like Effigy is.
Yeah.
Even though it has that happy thrash.
And then of course Voracious Contempt by Internal comes
Yeah.
out. So now, obviously, you know, nowadays, things are different than they were in the 90s. was there any problems commercially putting like Mortal Decay stuff out?
No, I think once we started working with Unique Leader and doing the forensic album stuff, because I mean, it wasn't really too much like stuff you couldn't really look at on that
Yeah,
cover.
you definitely
But
like.
when they got the rights to Sickening, they wanted to put a card in there and before they wrapped it, you know, like a
Yeah, explicit.
yeah, explicit thing.
Which I think they did.
They did. That's how they got into
Yeah.
stores.
Well, I mean, talking about getting our stuff out, you know, back even like before your time when it was always just tape trading. I just remember being younger, like, why aren't we getting signed? Why aren't we picking up a label now? What's going on? You know, we weren't, and we were shopping, doing press kits and everything, and we just weren't getting picked up. And then after I left, out comes being on this cool label, Pulverizer. And I'm like, I remember when it first came out, I was just like, that's cool.
Well,
They
I mean,
finally- they finally got signed.
it was on the strength of the Brutalizing Creations demo that we got signed.
Yeah, I mean,
And then I think that guy was a little bit disappointed when he found out he wasn't in the band anymore.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Kelly sounds pretty well, I think.
yeah, but how much better would
Yeah.
it have sounded with you on it?
I like to think of it as like a different like band altogether. Like if you go from like the demos or forensic and then go
Well,
back
it
and
kind of was a
listening.
different band.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is like I started with the demos and forensic, and then I went back and listened to Sickening, and I was like, But if your introduction to the band is like Sickening, you know it's a good record.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think of it as like all the other like I think of Sickening as like a different era. Like I think of it I compare it to like you know the bands of the time like you know Malignancy, Morbidity, you know stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas the demos I compare to stuff like Scatter Remnants, Internal Bleeding, you know, Dying Fetus, like a different caliber.
Oh, yeah, for
Like
sure.
a whole different caliber of bands.
We were all demo bands together, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But
Just
I think
just
of,
like you know, we like us, Gorgasm, Dying Fetus, even at that
yeah,
time.
like
we were all
Killing
putting out our
Adrenaline.
first albums.
Yeah, exactly. I think
That's one
of
my favorites.
Killing Adrenaline.
Yeah.
I think of that era as more of like the shock era of Mortal Decay, like the Sickening.
Mhm.
So like Lividity, Waco Jesus, you know, like all the albums that just wanted to be like really sick. Like
Yeah.
that's what I think of it. And I feel like that's where a lot of the music in Sickening gets lost because it just gets lumped in with all the other, you know, like boobs on death metal, like shock bands. You know what I mean?
What are your feelings on Cadaver Art?
Cadaver Art. I think that Cadaver Art was the biggest missed opportunity of Mortal Decay. I think it had the potential to be better than Forensic.
It could have been.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of wish, like when I wish me and Lou, in our departure, would have said, let us record on that at least, and then
Well, I
before we
mean,
depart.
half of the music wasn't even written yet until we got Justin in the band.
Right. I would have liked to have been on Cadaver Art, but
That would have been great. That would have been amazing, man.
I was young. It was like me and Lou left around the same time. And,
But I think we were. We had a European tour in the works at that point,
yeah, I would have.
and with no album, we wouldn't have been able to go.
Yeah.
So we rushed to get the album.
Because again, unique.
It was your state of euphoria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the demo stuff.
Mhm.
It's just the fact that I know I won't have anxiety or mess it up.
But you said Grizzly is your favorite of the demos.
Yeah, if I had to pick it, yeah. I think that was my best sounding vocally.
And Joe, you'd say Brutalizing would be yours.
Yes. The
Brutalizing.
songs on there are just crush, man.
I'd probably say Brutalizing. On Brutalizing, it's like you guys full cranked it. Like you took an extra year to write or like get it out. You know, because Dawn
They
was
were playing- they were
92,
playing
Grizzly
a
was
lot then,
93, and then you skipped 94 and then released.
Like even when I
Brutalizing.
joined halfway through '94,
You were playing
we
some
played a
songs.
lot up to that point.
You were playing,
We were
you know,
out, we were out playing all the time.
You would have been playing like Delirium and
Yeah,
Soaking.
yeah.
Because at the time we said Brian had wrote those songs, non-credited, but he had a part in writing Delirium and Soaking. And then of course you had a factor in writing some of those songs. or were you just playing them?
Well, I was learning them as they were.
So
coming
so
up, yeah.
so Hartman was
Yeah, for
doing
like
the song,
like
and-
apparitions, Revive Half Dead, and Opening the Graves. You know, that's all John.
that's all John.
Yeah.
So those are the John songs.
You know about, here's another interesting fact. I don't think we ever talked on our any of our interviews. The intro to Soaking, right?
Yeah.
The rain falling.
Oh no, even on the demo version, it's
The
different.
demo, yeah, the
Yeah,
demo.
yeah.
Is it?
It's the heartbeat.
The movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's actually it's and when Harry met Sally when she faced the orgasm, it's that reverse.
Oh, check that out.
Do you know
Yeah,
the
because
movie?
it's the heartbeat.
Do you know the movie?
I've never seen the movie, but it's the
The heartbeat.
it's
Is,
like
the
heartbeat.
heartbeat was added.
The heartbeat was added.
Oh, whatever he's saying.
Yeah, and there's
Like
a scene in
Cobb
when,
saying.
there's a scene in when Harry met Sally where Meg Ryan faced an orgasm
And
at a diner.
there's growls of him underneath
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
There you go. It doesn't need to be all horror movies.
So it's
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
what they did was they just took a regular growl like he did or something like that, and he stretched it and put a flanger on it and made it longer. So that little thing you hear underneath, like probably maybe like a 5 or
Yeah,
3 or 5 second long
right,
thing.
right.
I
Yeah.
always like the vocal effect. It's like it's very short, but it's a vocal
What were you gonna
effect
say?
in delirium.
Oh, I thought you said something else.
No, in delirium, it's like after you say something.
I'll have to revisit it.
Go
Yeah,
back
yeah.
and listen, but you say something, and it like echoes very faintly. It's like,
Really?
yeah,
Huh.
it's like an echo. It's cool.
Do you have a tape player?
Yeah,
No,
we
I
can
got it.
play the
I
tape.
got it. I know I got it.
It might not be on there. We did a lot of.
It's probably on there. No, it's like
It might
it's
be.
not like a mistake. It's like an added like vocal effect. I'm just saying like that. That's one of my favorite vocal effects.
Okay.
One of mine.
What
is-
were you gonna say? I was thinking of.
And then it's probably one of my favorite vocal effects. And insects,
Insect.
worms.
Oh yeah,
Rotting carcass.
insect. So how was that used?
Bill did something when they produced it. Yeah.
Was it like a phaser effect?
I don't know what he
You don't-
used. I
yeah.
don't know what he used, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
That one's cool.
There's some flanger on that for sure.
Razor sliced the core, which is probably my least favorite forensic song. Probably.
That used to be my favorite.
Really.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites too.
Yeah, because that was a
Just
staple
because
live.
of the big breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
Or whatever, something like that.
There's a
But
flanger.
yeah, that vocal effect is
Yeah, there's
cool
a
as
flanger on
well.
that too. And then what's the thing? What's the lyric before the slice?
I gotta think now.
Because that slice was taken from a movie too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
He's like, Razor.
No, the actual
before that.
effect was
Oh.
taken from I forget what movie it was, but it was somebody taking a sword out of a sheet.
Mm.
See, I'm drawing a blank out of here. I don't know what I said there. But I do know Razor.
Joe, did you say what your favorite forensic song was?
Probably Tragedies or Razor Slice.
That would be Razor Slice.
I think Tragedies is the most complete song.
I think Tragedies has like a really good opening, and then like halfway through, it kind of like loses its power.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know, because you said that was probably one of your least favorite at the time.
When you asked me that at that show,
Yeah,
Walter
I think you
Summer
mentioned
Show.
my mind being
Because you asked me
Tragedies.
if I had to pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started to go completely wacky with that one.
If I had to pick one, a least favorite one, it would be, I enjoyed it. That's another one though, playing live. It's like humming. It could be a train wreck any minute. You know, if we go off. We down to that the last time we played Maryland.
Yeah,
we
it,
did.
was, it sounded good at Maryland.
That was a great.
Yeah, Maryland was a good one.
That's the last show we played.
You're also in a band called Chopcore.
Just gonna say that some
So-
people classified us as deathcore.
How do you actually describe Chopcore's music?
It's not the deathcore that we're thinking today, but people have called us that. But
But it
I've
was
always
like a-
went for pretty much. There were two guitar players in the band. Of course, they didn't get along, and they were each on one album, but I wanted to mesh them. One guy had the old school sound like Sick of It All. The other guy had the more of the metal edge, like you know, Hatebreed or
Earth Crisis.
Yeah, right. And I was trying to merge that together.
But they can never get along.
Right, and it never worked out. They each played on one different album. But that was, I mean, Joe will tell you, I was obsessed with that band.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know, I was like,
Oh, we all were. It was
I
cool
was,
shit.
You could say you were trying to combine like.
I mean, I was writing lyrics. I was writing lyrics. I was doing vocal arrangements. I was doing a different kind of music. The music that I really loved back then. It was my baby.
But to
You
sum
know.
it up, you were trying to combine like the death metal of Mortal Decay with like the
Well,
background of
he-
that.
He
Not
would
so much
do
Mortal Decay in general, but like
vocally,
more of your
he threw more
Yeah,
things.
I'll-
in.
more of your
I'll throw
death
some
metal
raws.
style
Yeah.
into
That's
modern
probably why the
hardcore.
deathcore thing came up because
Right.
you were doing.
So it was death metal and hardcore, deathcore.
yeah, because you were doing some of the lows and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I would throw in some of that stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't all the time, but like,
Well-
you know, you would be. You know,
Well,
rewind it. Did you just do that right there? You know, like that. Kind of
Because even
A
someone
lot
like
of times they try to get our name out there to try to sell albums, not to, well, I guess you could say trying to ride Mortal Decay's coattails a little bit. I mean, if you even look on,
it says
Bloody
former
Hell.
vocalist of Mortal Decay.
where that was my idea, to try
Right.
to get album sounds out.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, so I mean, I guess you could say I rode our coattails a little bit and trying to
Well, yeah,
let people know that was my other band.
yeah.
you
That's
know.
Try like
that was fine.
Yeah,
we
using
saw no
whatever.
problem in that kind of promotion.
Yeah,
you know?
well, it's even, you know, just like now with the way John promotes the hell out of the it's all good. I
Yeah,
mean,
totally.
you know, but it's funny because I know what John's going through now because I went through the shop work. But see, I was doing different kind of music.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really like hard trying to get signed to the shop work too, you know.
well, what era of Carcass are you the
Symphonies and stuff.
your symphonies guy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the one after that? Of course, is great too.
Necroticism?
Yeah.
Any Reek? You were
Yeah, I like
big
Reek. I
Reek
like
guy?
Reek. That was like the first one, of course. Yeah, but I love symphonies.
Were you a big Heartwork or Swan Song or no?
You know, Lou will bust my chops. He was just here because I did used to like Swan Song a lot. Everyone.
I feel Swan Song. I feel like I like Swan Song better than Heartwork.
Nah, not me.
I was like that too, though, Joe, because it was more thrashy and stuff.
But I like the guitar stuff on the guitar playing on Hard Work is amazing.
That's my biggest turnoff about the Heartwork, the guitar writing. There's like good, like even though it's like catchy and it sounds good, but like I don't want that in Carcass.
I hear you.
The thing I wish about Carcass is I wish Bill Steele would sing more.
Yeah,
I think he sang a lot on Surgical Steel.
yeah, I like a lot of that more like low pitch, like
I remember the Peel Sessions.
Peel
Peel
set.
Sessions albums.
Yeah, he was
Even
really
the,
well then.
even the Napalm Death Peel sessions as well.
Yeah, that was with Lee Dorian, right? I remember he was on
Mhm.
Scrum too.
Yeah. John Peel just died a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
because they used because Bill Steer used the pitch shifters. I know. I think Napalm Death live at Rock City. I think they tour with Carcass, but Barney just joins the band. He uses pitch shifters live, so it sounds like Carcass. If you ever want to listen live at Rock City, that's a cool one to listen to. Not a lot of people know. It's like
I didn't know he was in shifter.
yeah, it's like he sings all the Napalm songs pitch shifted.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
That's kind of weird.
Me and
Yeah.
Ann talked about that.
that
Using-
live show,
No, using a pitch shift
pitch shifter.
in some parts, but we never did.
In some parts, yeah,
I mean, not
but
full
Yeah,
time, but
I wouldn't say, hey, John, sing a whole song with this.
Yeah,
No, but
pitch
like,
shifter.
yeah, no, but like the Worm Saloon or Lining Carcass, it's a pitch shifter or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
like, something like that.
Yeah.
You know? Like me and-
oh, like live, that would be
yeah,
yeah.
Like me and Every talked about that before at times, but we never pursued it, obviously.
But there was that whole thing in the early '90s death metal, like
No
effects.
pitch
effects.
shifters were used
Right.
on the vocals during this recording, you know.
Where that was a question I used to get asked a lot. You know, what kind of effects?
But even like there's parts on the first Deicide album that sound like he's definitely using something.
It's alright. On the first day.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
let's answer these questions to end it up. Yeah.
Fan mount.
So the first one says, "Why change the fucking logo?" I think he's talking about Cadabra and Blueprint.
I questioned Hartman about that too, because that didn't sit well with me a little bit. But John actually showed me it's the same logo, he just spread apart. And
It was
I thought
redrawn.
he's taken from the same. It's that, but spaced apart, side by side.
And we had Zig do that.
Yeah,
John
and
Zig did that for us.
And I didn't know that, so it didn't sit well with me either until when he told me that.
And then there's like the 2006 redesign where it's like more of like a modern
that splatter
they like the
thing? Yeah,
splatter
that-
one.
John Zig did that one too, but we didn't really like that one.
Yeah, it's kind of like a deathcore kind of like
Yeah.
logo type of thing. Like I said, like modern, like 2006. Like that
Whenever that would show up on like a festival flyer, we'd be like, ah man.
right.
But the reason that we changed it, just for the release of, because Cadaver Art didn't have the logo on it either.
No, yeah, it pulled immolation. It was just like the
but
the inside.
the shower curtain does. They put it on.
When you open up the CD, it's the
the logo's on the
Decay
CD.
logo.
No, the logo's not on the CD. When you lift the
when
CD
you
up,
like the tray
it's on the tray.
at the inside.
I don't know. Sometimes a square logo doesn't. You can't figure out the best place to put it.
I liked what you did on Sickening, where it was like the word and then like the black bar and then like Mortal Decay, like the logo.
Yeah, we didn't do that on the blue one though.
Mhm.
The blue and yellow one.
Yeah, that was missing from the yellow.
Yeah.
This one,
It was so nice.
this one says, are there any certain influence for the vocals on Forensic, specifically the phaser vocal effects?
We were just trying things.
Yeah, we were just pretty much experimenting.
Like any like bands at the time you're listening to that like influence like
I was listening to that. I was mostly listening to hardcore music back then.
so like hard because that would have been around the chopcore time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, both albums in production.
No, I just think we were just trying different things to see
Yeah.
what was cool and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned you don't like your vocals on Forensic, or like you thought they could have been
There's some
like
parts.
different.
There's some
some
parts
parts.
that don't sit well with me.
Do you feel for chopcore 2 months later you got it right? Like what you wanted to do vocally, like the sound on that was better than Forensic, like vocally for you.
You mean for the Unblameable Mess?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a couple songs that we recorded elsewhere, and like that one that you said,
Reborn the Pride.
Yeah,
Oh, didn't you record at Jake's too?
yeah, and that production of that song, that's not so good. It's not so good, and I hate to say it, I don't know if you recognize it or not, but Ryan's riff is really a fetus ripoff. Big time.
That's why I liked it so much.
Don't
Yeah.
print that either.
Nah,
But it's so
a long time
it's
has
so,
passed since then.
It's so fetusy, man. Yeah, that's
Even like the guitar screeches.
because you're probably saying that was like your favorite song, and I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
and that was just like, oh.
Well, that's why. Thinking about it now,
Mhm.
it sounds like a brutal death metal song.
You know, that's why I eventually disbanded, because Jimmy Kaywood left, our drummer. And I'm like, all right, let me pull another drummer in. And then Hartman also came along and joined at the time, and it sounded too death metal. And I'm like, oh, it's like a Mortal Decay. So I'm like, yeah, I'm done, guys, you know.
Yeah.
And I was also focusing on some more studies at the time, too. And I
Yeah,
went back
like
and we did the forensic mini tours after
Yeah.
that.
Will any future Mortal Decay releases demand that we dance?
Well, what? Any future more?
Yeah, any future Mortal Decay releases demand that we dance.
I'll still like to. I'd like to do it. I don't know if these guys will still want me to. Hartman's kind of weird with me doing stuff like that. He says I do my laugh too much, and I do this stuff. But some of that's my signature stuff.
I think the laugh and the dance, like shouts are like staple Mortal Decay.
Definitely.
See, now that's something that I thought. That's something like even like that's what I mean. Like Ant might do the arrangements, but I do stuff like that.
Like Barney was, I want to see everybody scab.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like on Harmony he goes thrash.
Yeah.
But on a live version, that's
Everybody Scott.
and I do it on our live version too. Did you ever see that? More than once on my YouTube. I was
Yeah.
doing stuff with the children.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You ever thought about putting stuff for the children on a record?
We actually thought of doing a whole cover record.
Yeah, we wanted to do a whole cover up.
And that would have been one of the songs.
Oh, for
But then we never would have agreed.
would
on
it would have
the
been
song.
would it have been pure napalm or just
No, just
I'll
that would
cover
have
it.
been just one of the songs.
what other artists would you have covered?
Oh man, there's too many.
We did Slayer Warren song.
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
We did that before too.
We used to play that live. It was fun.
Yeah, we were playing with cars.
I don't know. There's so much I would do that no one else would agree with.
We probably would have done a Macabre song.
Yeah, we used to do serial killer.
Yeah.
Mm.
Drill Bit Lobotomy too, right?
Yeah.
We used to remember used to playing that.
Yep.
This one comes from former bassist Ron Steinauer. He wants to know where's Anthony's Christian disc.
Yeah, I saw that. What's he mean by that?
Well,
They
that was just the inside
Joe
joke
looks-
between the two of them.
Joe looks like he knows.
Yeah, well, like every time we'd go to pop in the CD, like on the road or whatever, and it would be like driving. Would he be driving? Or he'd be in the passenger seat looking for a CD to put in. He'd be like, "All right, where's my Christian?" You know, like that kind of thing. So that would be the thing.
I like that band too.
Christian,
That latest one I like.
they're kind of hit or miss with me. I think they're awesome. They're awesome players, but I think sometimes
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
doing a riff 24 times in a row sometimes doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. Let's see, going back to like the hardcore stuff and that don't bother me.
Yeah, but that
Like you know,
tastefully doesn't.
like Hatebreed sounds like one big giant album, but this new album sticks out. This album I'm stuck on. This one.
Who made you want to play and who has the most influence on you?
Who's most influenced?
Yeah, like,
Singer?
um,
I got too many to announce. I can name some that I grew up to and looked up to. It's always the Psychos. You know, the G.G. Allens, the Johnny Rottens, the Sid Viciouses.
The King Diamonds.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the King.
It's like
Diamond.
more of like the
Mike Moore for Suicidal. Like
more
Glenn
like the
Dan-
shock,
Glenn Dan-
the shock value.
Back when I first got into music, I was heavily into Axl Rose, and Guns N' Roses way back then.
So like more of like the shocking on stage presence singers.
Yeah, Henry Rollins, you know, the crazy ones.
I think for me, I picked up the guitar because of Jimmy Page. But I mean, obviously, we don't do anything like that. It's weird to say that I've gone from that kind of upbringing, which I know a lot of us have, but to kind of go from like hard rock and some metal straight to death metal, it's like unheard of. People don't gravitate through the music that way.
Right, well, back then that music.
But
we
I
never
kinda
imagined
did.
this music existed.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't really have a thrash phase, you know. Like
It's-
a lot of
it
us
is
back then
Metallica
had a thrash
guy.
phase.
Oh, I was just telling him, I'm a huge thrash guy.
Yeah, I
You're
was a
Metallica.
thrash guy.
Yeah, Metallica, Megadeth, stuff like that. Forbidden,
I was a thrash
Testament,
guy. I was definitely-
Exodus.
Yeah,
But I didn't go.
That's like my thrash. Like I wasn't like Destruction, Havoc,
Yeah, I
the
didn't.
Tankard. I wasn't
Well,
like
I mean, I love Creator too, but
yeah, Creator.
Remind you too, like I told you earlier, Peter Wright or my Beatles and stuff.
Yeah. Pretty so that's more like the crossover.
Yeah.
Like
but I went right from like Metallica and Megadeth to death metal. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have the.
yeah,
I didn't have the
like
point where I was like, trying to discover new thrash bands. I just
yeah.
kind of like went brutal from the, well, went heavier. Right?
I did because a lot of big influence on me with music was sitting around watching Headbangers Ball every Saturday with my buddies, and there was a lot of thrash in that
Yeah.
before death metal.
Right. The only death metal really one that would be like Morbid and Death. Of like the later stuff.
And it would only be
I
like
like
the
Cannibal.
last 3 videos of the show,
Right.
the triple thrash threat or whatever it was.
Yeah,
called.
but
The triple thrash.
But it would be death metal videos.
Yeah, it'd be like God of Emptiness, and then like
I was,
Yeah. Philosopher.
like Philosopher.
Or what else? They would always show the Suffer the Children from Live Corruption.
yeah.
Mm.
They would always show that video.
Yeah,
that
some
snippet
of the
video.
children was cool.
Live Corruption was great. I watched
I'd probably
fuck-
go-
Live Corruption is probably my like the definitive Napalm Death for me.
Yeah, that's a great
Love
video.
Crush. I'm a Harmony guy, but I also love Utopia Banished. Utopia Banished is like, because it takes that early grindcore from Enslavement and Scum and just mixes it with the death metal of Harmony, and there's like nothing like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
That album grew on me over the years. Fear Emptiness totally got me when I got it. Just that opening from Twisted Length, you know what I mean? Like right off the bat.
Like if I listen to that one first, I'd like it more. But I like the earlier, like extreme punk stuff. I like the earlier stuff.
I'm digging their newer stuff again. Like,
Yeah.
like this new one, this latest one.
The new one's pretty weird. It's like new wave.
The Apex
It's
Predator,
very weird.
the
Talking
Apex
about
Predator
it's
one.
like kind of like people mentioned the band Killjoy when
Killjoy, I was about to
when
say,
people
yeah.
mentioned that album.
That last one too. What was that? Apex Predator.
Apex
Yeah,
Predator.
Apex was cool.
The last one I really heard was Utilitarian.
Utilitarian.
That's the last one I
They
heard.
went back to their in the 2000s. They went back to their grindcore stuff,
Yeah.
like Time Waits and
They're probably up to like 30 albums by now.
I think like
They're up there.
late
20,
teens, like
22
late
maybe.
teens.
late teens.
They did splits and stuff too.
Yeah.
And they did a couple of cover albums.
But I mean, because that was asked to me in another interview too, you know. But if you think about it, other singers like more than me.
Yeah, Kelly left.
I don't want to mention
Back
that.
to you.
I don't want to mention names, but yeah. But it does seem that way for some reason. People see why I left and came back and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess there's just gaps where you're not on albums, so it makes it seem like you were like
Well, then
playing
people
live
don't
and
know
then
the whole
like
story then, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I guess that's why they're asking, but if there are more consecutive releases with certain people in the band at the time, then there wouldn't be these real, you know,
Yeah, these
inquisitive
issues.
things needing to be known, you know what I mean?
This one they asked about the gear used on full-length albums.
That's Joe.
Yeah.
Well, on all the demos, I think that actually on Dawn, I think John said he used a crate and like a crate, or a Marshall combo, something like that. I think him and Diva both used it. But on Grizzly, I know they used the Ampeg amps.
Remember Ampegs were hot and more.
Yeah.
Ampegs being hot.
John used an Ampeg on the Brutalizing demo, and then we both used Ampegs on Sickening.
Remember you guys being in the Ibanez a lot too.
Yeah. I used Ibanez on. No, I used BC Rich on Sickening, and I used Ibanez from every other release, the Forensic on.
And Ant's brand drum kit.
He's using PDP right now.
Right.
But he had Tamos.
I was gonna say he did use Tamos before. Right?
He had the Tamos for Grizzly all through.
You know, that's one thing. You know, talking about Sickening and Ant. I like the way Ant's drum sound on Sickening for some reason.
Yeah. That was the first time he used triggers for the kicks.
Yeah, I like his kicks, especially on Sickening.
Yeah, I love the drum sound on Sickening. I think maybe some of the drum sound on Forensic was a little too reverby, because you could, you know, when he hits the snare, you can hear the reverb on the snare a little bit. Whatever he didn't play on, and then see, Blueprint could have been better too, drum wise. I think the guy used too many samples. He used too much sampling for the drums instead of using the real kit. But you know,
There's one of them I saw there. I'm waiting for it.
We're getting to the list. This one says, "Why not more frog vocals?" I think there's enough frog vocals.
there's going to be even more with this next release.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that because coming from Hartman, he wants my other style vocals more.
Of the like opening the graves.
Yeah.
Or,
But he don't want you to do lows anymore.
I mean, I guess it's okay to print it, but he one time when hanging out, he was saying, not as much, but I was kind of got upset with him a little bit. I was just like, dude, that's my signature voice. I don't want to throw that in the trash.
that
I don't want to throw that in the trash, even though
that's what it sounds like. It's gonna sound like chopcore. It's gonna sound like chopcore. It's gonna be like.
No, you do what you do, man. That's how it's going to be.
And here's a question from Dan from Regurgitation of One Splitter. He says, why does such a killer band like Mortal Decay not have a bassist?
I don't know if that's what I wanted to.
I don't know.
It's hard to find bass players. It really is, especially
Like bass play people that play bass, not just guitar players
Right.
that pick up a bass.
Yeah.
right.
You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of bass players.
It seems like there's all guitarists anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Ever since the
There's
Guitar
like
Hero
1,000
and stuff.
Guitar Hero. That's how I got into metal, Guitar
And
Hero.
Not just. I
There's
mean,
like 1,000 drummers in bands nowadays.
Yeah.
another thing too. I'm sure you agree. When the time comes and you do get a bass player, I think they should live at least within an hour radius
Yeah.
of affiliate.
Yeah,
For sure.
Of
We don't want to
affiliate.
do any more long distance stuff anymore.
No, because I mean,
Because that affects things.
yeah, we'll find one day.
Oh, here's a question. How does Johnny not burn out his vocals?
I saw that
And
one.
what does he do to preserve them?
I
Chocolate
told you,
milk.
chocolate milk and Doritos.
There you go, man.
Help me get my gurgles. But I really, like right now, I bet you if I did a grout,
I love the Dorito thing. I think it's awesome.
Wait, what kind of Doritos? Nacho cheese?
yeah,
Not the Cool Ranch.
yeah, nacho cheese. Because right now, I didn't even eat pizza yet. I haven't eaten yet today, except well, no,
Yeah, we have all that pizza just going cold.
No, I got. We'll eat it for dinner, but I got. You know, you got to eat something. Like right now, if I did a growl, it wouldn't sound so good because I haven't. I got nothing back there.
Right.
You know. And I'm not mic'd up either,
Yeah.
but and I feel like I should be getting louder than that too.
Yeah, you got to project. Also, you're not warmed up.
That's the one thing I wish Mortal had too. I wish Mortal had their own sound man and knew like the vocal arrangements when
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
the
low,
new
when I'm
everything,
gonna go
yeah.
high.
Yeah.
Because what happens, and this is what me and John talked about, and why I think he wants me to shy away from doing the frogs is I'll go high like in Opening the Graves, then the sound man turns me down.
'Cause you're so
And
high.
leaves me down.
Yeah.
Because you know I got some all over the place vocal.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not doing like one signature, just like
Yeah,
you're doing different stuff.
it's different
And
volumes.
the opening the grooves you can do really high.
And it's more pronounced, or not pronounced, but like
Right.
more projected.
Yeah, you're not. It's like you don't need to stretch your diaphragm to get like a low pitch.
Yeah.
You can really like just yell, and the same man will accommodate for that, not knowing you're about to do like the low guttural type stuff.
Right.
So, you mentioned your warm up. What do you do to warm up?
I'll do a couple screams here and there. A lot of times I do the Grandma by King Diamond, or I'll try to match it. Yeah. Or I'll try to do an overkill scream or a power metal scream just to
Get the
open up,
juices
get
flowing.
the dust off, you know. But there's been times like lately too, we haven't jammed in a while. I just go to it. I might do it an hour or two, but you know, I'm not gonna yell in Aunt's basement while his dad's gonna do the grandma's real loud.